There's a lot of what is not right in television, but if you focus on what's right, there's more opportunities. Write from your heart, write what you know, just write. You'll hear 1,001 no's, but it just takes one yes.
You had a very notable internship.
It was Friends. It's lightning in a bottle. Criminal Mind does a really good thing of exploring the why. And the why does not need to make sense to me or you. Mm-hmm. It just needs to make sense to the killer.
You're watching and listening to In Proximity. I'm Paola Mardo, and today we're talking TV writing and procedurals. Kimberly, or Kim Harrison, is an executive producer and showrunner. She's had an incredible career in TV writing, starting as an intern on the set of Friends, and then landing a career writing for television. She cut her teeth in procedurals, you know, the case of the week shows where you see a crime or case solved step by step. Yeah, really juicy stuff, and Kim spent 8 seasons on Criminal Minds. She honed her craft in the world of procedural TV before becoming writer jealous when she saw shows like Empire and Scandal come up. That led her to transition into showrunning, and her most recent projects include The Crossover and Washington Black. If you're interested in TV writing, or if you are a TV writer, or if you want to learn more about procedurals, this episode is for you. Kim gets into all of that, as well as what it was like to write her debut novel, Beyond the Paddock, the beautiful book based on her family's true story, finding healing through horses during the pandemic. Here's my conversation with Kim Harrison. Kim Harrison, welcome to In Proximity.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Very excited to talk to you about your writing journey. But before we start, you are the rare breed of Hollywood insider in that you're actually from LA, like born and raised, as far as I know.
Yeah, born and raised in LA, Diamond Bar to be exact. And for me, kind of growing up, Hollywood wasn't really on the books. I mean, it was a different world. It might as well have been on Mars. Right. Came from a family of nothing but school teachers. And so that was my path. And so this whole Hollywood thing, not even realizing how close we were to actual Hollywood, that this was nothing that was really taken seriously as a career, something that we could actually pursue.
What were you watching on TV?
Soap operas. I was obsessed with soap operas. And now when I look back, it's like, of course, that is where my storytelling kind of came from. But ever since it was before I started kindergarten. So I had really a lot of trouble with school, but it was All My Children, One Night to Live in General Hospital. Wow. I was dedicated, diehard ABC soaps from 4 years old, 5 years old, way too early, well until now. Yeah, so that's what I was watching. I needed to know if Erica Kane was going back home to her husband, Jeremy, or going to sleep with Jackson, his brother.
And at what point were you like, ooh, I kind of want to do that, like make that happen?
I would say that didn't become something real until I got to Mount Sac, until I got into college and really saw that it was something that I can do, that it was a craft. And once I had other professors believing in me and supporting this, I wouldn't even say it was a dream at that point. Like, oh, maybe, it's just a door that is cracked, and I'm peeking in.
Yeah.
Then it was off to the races.
And you mentioned the school. Where did you go to college again?
I started at Mount San Antonio College in Walnut, California, and then transferred to Cal State Northridge.
Cool. Shout out.
Yes,
Walnut.
Shout out. Matadors, CSUN, and the Mounties at Mount San Antonio College.
Yes, awesome. And at Mount San Antonio, you had a professor.
Yes.
First of all, you took a class, Intro to Broadcasting.
Yes.
Who was your professor, and what did she tell you?
Okay. So I had a friend, I was taking a class, and she knew I needed 3 more units. And she goes, you just need 3 units for summer, so just take this Intro to Broadcasting. I'm like, why am I taking an Intro to Broadcasting class? Like, that makes no sense. I have no interest in that. Like, I'm just trying to do this, teacher thing. She's like, you need the units. Teacher's really cool. Take the class. I took the class with Tammy Trujillo. Now, Tammy Trujillo, I had the name was very familiar to me because my grandmother and my mother listened to her on the radio. So it was kind of like a full circle moment, like just in that. And that was my first time kind of being starstruck. And I took the class over summer, and within 2 weeks of the class, she pulls me outside and basically says, you don't have to come back to class anymore. I want to hire you down at KFWB, which was in Hollywood, the radio station, like as a PA. I see that you are really into this and would love to have you down there. And for me, I'm like, wait, what? And it was that one person believing in me and opening a door that haven't closed that door since. It was off to the races.
You had a very notable internship.
I did.
Can you talk about what show that was?
Yes, it was Friends.
How does one do that?
I know. Well, I mean, okay, so
and
now—
what season are we talking about?
The last 3 seasons.
Okay.
Oh, what a time to be alive.
Yeah. It's probably a really big job. What did you feel in that moment? You got a call or email or fax?
I got a call. No,
okay.
I got a call. Okay, I got a call. I got a call.
Yeah.
I got a call and I met at the writer's office, which was across the street from Warner Brothers at 3400 Riverside. And met with the producers and over there. And it was my first writer's office to walk into. And you see all the posters from all the seasons. You just see the accomplishments, the pride, the machine.
Had you been on a studio lot before then? Okay, no. So this was like the first time.
I had never seen a select, it was like Jennifer Aniston, what? And I have these, I mean, they're rehearsing in front of you. They're reading their scripts in front of you. You just have these mastermind writers that are writing these amazing scripts. You have this amazing cast. And then you have this audience that would give their right leg to be in the audience. It was just it's lightning in a bottle. That's what I can describe it as, lightning in a bottle.
Wow.
It doesn't get much better than that. And just learning so many different aspects of the industry from that one show. Production, the writer's room, wow. I just learned so much in those 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a master's in
yes,
TV writing.
Definitely a master's class.
Definitely on one of the biggest shows on TV at that moment.
Yes.
Can you talk about, though, how did you get the internship? Because I feel like there's a lot of folks tuning into this who are like, I want to be on the Friends of today, whatever that even is right now.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? What is it that they can do?
Apply and then just keep on. Just keep on. What's the worst they're going to say? No. And they'll tell you no. And so I just think it was just kind of being like, oh, I'm okay with hearing no. I'm used to hearing no, because it only takes one yes. So it wasn't like I would just apply and then just hold on. No, it's just, okay, I've done my research. Okay, here's my Hollywood creative directory. I'm going to hit up these 10 different productions today. And then tomorrow it's these productions, and just keep it organized. And then once you put it into motion, what is there to do except continuing to prepare for when that opportunity comes, And when that opportunity called and I got an interview for the internship on Friends, I was prepared.
You're prepared.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, opportunity is like luck meets preparation.
Yes.
So a little bit is luck,
Absolutely.
but you have to be prepared.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you were.
Yeah, and I do feel that luck, when you do the work, that margin of luck shrinks. And it becomes about this is for you. And when they see your resume coming in there more than once, and the way that you're crafting it or the way that you're framing it, it's a sales document. That resume is a sales document. I might never have a phone call with you, but that paper is going to tell me everything that I need to know.
Did you have to write a cover letter?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Tips. Okay, writer tips for the best cover letter ever.
Get their attention. Get their attention, to whom it may concern. Or how about, please don't throw this away. Stop, just read my next page. Just being creative. There are different tools now that can really grab the attention.
Yeah. Yeah, can you kind of walk us through some moments, whether it was sitting in the writer's room or watching them film a scene? Do you remember, I don't know, moments where you learned something or that have stuck with you since that internship?
I'll say the one thing about that internship that was so special was I got to see every aspect from beginning to end on the show. So it was like from kind of concept to run-throughs to show nights to editing, like everything. Like, okay, for example, one of my jobs was like cleaning up the writer's room. And the cardinal rule is organize it, but don't throw away a single piece of paper. Because those papers and those notes are inspiring in different ways, and it's part of someone's process. So I'll say like that is one of the things, like even till to this day, I do not throw away paper because even the smallest note, even in my car, like it might be on a gum wrapper or whatever. Like there's certain, I learned ways of taking notes and like everything is up for grab. That hat is up for grab if someone, calls. Yeah. But that was something that was ingrained in me and friends of in the writer's room, do not throw away any paper. Like, and so they'll have a napkin with some writing on it and it's just stack it. Yeah. But that's where I kind of was able to figure out my creative process and kind of, in the morning going in to open up every one of the writers' offices, you got a sneak peek to see their process. And every single one of those offices was different. Everyone had a different process.
And so how do you go from the comedy track to Criminal Minds?
Criminal Minds. So at the time of Friends, my sister, who is a television writer, shout out Erica Harrison, she was working on she did Friends. She was an intern there as well. The season after I did, but then she went and worked on Third Watch, which was also filming on the Warner Brothers lot. So we'd have lunch together. I'd go over there. She'd come over here. Everyone knew everyone. And the creator and showrunner of Third Watch, Edward Bernero, got a new show, which was Criminal Minds, and he was looking for an assistant. So my sister was like, hey, why don't you go be Ed's assistant? And so I was like, yeah, why not? Ed is great. Sure. What's this about? FBI stuff? Okay. And I should have known that was going to be my avenue into drama because I came from daytime drama, watching that. Yeah. So I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of closer to the storytelling that I would like to tell. Kind of in that drama world. And so why not? So yeah, that was kind of the pivot to that world.
Having had the background you did, what was in your experience where you could show, I could do this kind of show too, having had like this comedy background for so many years?
I think it was more of showing the stability, like that you can make that transition, you can make that jump. I think having Ed, wanting to mentor me in that, into making that transition was very helpful. I think given that opportunity, because to your point, like most people would be like, no, stick to the comedy world. Yeah. But he was open to teaching me that world, just kind of the drama, from comedy to drama is a big difference script wise, and everything storytelling wise. And just to be able to learn that under Ed Bernero was amazing.
That's so cool. I mean, you were credited on, correct us if we are wrong, 78 episodes of Criminal Minds.
Yes.
78 episodes.
It's a
wow.
lot. It's 12 years there.
12 years.
Yes.
Okay. And for those, just a refresher, it's still going on.
Yes.
It's still going on. Criminal Minds is a procedural show about an elite squad of FBI profilers that investigate the country's most twisted cases and killers. Can you talk about what's it like to be in that writer's room?
It's dark. No, to be honest with you, the Criminal Minds writer's room at the time that I was there was really fun. It was laughing, not to be like, whoa. I think that was a way to kind of deal with the heaviness that we were talking, of the stories that we were telling. But it was so educational in getting the behind the scenes of what the FBI was dealing with, a lot of these stories. It was a lot of reading. And again, I just love to read and to dive into, fully committed into writing for these FBI agents, these heroes. And, it was a lot of just twisted, dark stories. But the room was very much like our light.
How many writers were there? Or how big was the writer's room?
11. We had about 11 writers.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the composition of the writer's room?
So the hierarchy would be the showrunner, the other executive producers, co-executive producers underneath that, supervising producers underneath that, producers underneath that, story editors underneath that, and then staff writers. Every year, the writer just kind of moves up with a new title.
You, as someone who started as an assistant and then moved your way up, I guess, how do you make that jump? I think I read you wrote a freelance episode or something. How did that, can you talk about that?
Wrote a freelance episode, season 5. And then what they did was Criminal Minds allowed the assistants to go in and pitch to the showrunner. Like once a year, it was like a pitch off. You get to go in and pitch your episode of Criminal Minds. And season 5, I want to say, I went in and did a freelance and got staffed the next season.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you pitch an episode on Criminal Minds, or just in general? What are your tips?
I mean, pitching just gives me so much anxiety, but it's a sales document. It's a sales document of like, this is the show that I want to tell. This is the episode I want to tell. Here's my beginning, middle, end. Here's a few twists. What do you think? You know? Yeah.
And do you do this, I guess back then, was it in the room? You're
Yes.
just pitching it straight?
In the room with all the writers.
Oof.
And I mean, these are
What
people
was that like?
It's so intimidating. These are people that like you've worked with. These are like, you know, you've worked with for what, 5 years, and then now they're judging you, you know? And so you're like, oh shoot, you want to make them proud because they have been your foundation, you know, in writing. You've learned from them.
And this is also your moment.
This is your moment.
So,
this is your moment.
Can you, what episode was it?
It was, okay, it was season 5. It was Solitary Man.
Okay.
It was about a father who was a truck driver who was desperately looking for a stepmother to raise his daughter.
Yeah.
But he was kidnapping people and holding them in the back of his big rig.
Right. Yeah. And he would tell her stories.
Yeah.
The daughter's stories.
Yeah.
There's sort of like a fairy tale to it.
Twisted fairy tales.
It was very twisted.
Yeah.
What drew you to that?
So I started writing from my fear. When I became a mother, it was like, okay, I don't want anything to happen to my kids. So my writing toward was tending to get a little bit, it was very protective of children, you know?
I think what I find interesting about Criminal Minds is, unlike other procedurals, you actually see a lot of the criminal behind the mind.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't know if it's empathy there or something. Like you just see it their perspective in a way.
Criminal Mind does a really good thing of exploring the why. It's all about the why.
Yeah.
And the why does not need to make sense to me or you. It just needs to make sense to the killer.
Yeah.
So if that killer has justified in his mind, this is what I need to do in order to get my daughter, there's nothing that's going to really, you know, stop. For you and I, we're like, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about doing stuff. But it definitely, I think the craze behind Criminal Minds is it really explores the why and the unsubs POV.
The unknown subject.
Yes, unknown subject.
I guess breaking into the scene, television is so different now, and also just navigating careers in general in entertainment is different. Do you have any advice for folks trying to get into television now?
I would keep blinders on to a certain extent, right? There's a lot of what is not right in television, but if you focus on what's right, which is like, look, there's more opportunities. There wasn't Netflix around. There wasn't Amazon. There weren't these other there weren't streamers around when I first, you know, started out, but those are opportunities. And again, it only takes one. It only takes one. So for people that are looking to write, I would just say, keep writing. Keep writing. That is your calling card. That is your card is to keep writing and don't try to stay up with what is going right from your heart. Write what you know, just write. Again, it just takes one. You'll hear 1,001 no's, but it just takes one yes.
What was your first showrunning job?
Deputy. It was Deputy on Fox, and that was a character-based procedural. So that was like best of both worlds.
How was the leap from writer to showrunner? What was that like for you?
That was interesting. That was interesting, but it was also an exercise in trusting people to do their job. Trusting people to do their job. I like to say showrunning is no different than air traffic control. You're not flying the plane, but you're telling people where to land because you trust the pilots, because you've hired, you know, and so it's about getting out of people's way, really, and letting them do their job. Let people, you know, these are all professionals, like, you know, and then so like when you're in a writer's room and then you have, you know, you have the best of the best for this show filtering through these scripts. Yeah. You know, so getting out of folks' way, hiring good people around you that you don't mind being in the rain on set for 12 hours. You're still going to have a smile on your face because you're working with cool folks. Yeah.
Do you remember whether it was like first day in the writer's room or first day on set as a showrunner and what that was like?
Yeah.
Because why?
Because it was boarding a plane, flying to New Mexico, because we filmed in New Mexico. So that was like day trips to New Mexico. But also, there's one part of show running that people don't really talk about, which is how lonely it is and how you can go on deputy. I went from being one of the writers, so like, to then showrunner. Like, people aren't hanging out in your office because you're now the boss. And for someone like me who's really social and loves to hang and kiki with everyone, because that's where I feel like the best storytelling is, when people are chill and relaxed and just it's very isolating. I will say that.
So your first day on set, you board the plane and it's like nerve-wracking or something?
It's nerve-wracking because then you go and you're flying into New Mexico, but your writer's room is in LA. So you're needing to be two places at once. And your presence needs to, so that people feel how passionate you are, how connected you are, your cast feels supported, your crew feels supported. And I so just kind of learning that balance. But again, learning from showrunners like Ed Bernero, like Erica Messer, and Janine Sherman Barwa, you just learn that this balance is really important, that you show up for your crew. You're there when they open. You're there when first shot's up. You're there when they close. You're there in the room. You understand family does come first across boards, whether it's crew or, the writer's room. So I feel that if you treat your crew and your writers like family, they treat you like family,
Yeah.
So just that balance.
Yeah, I mean, you work in a creative field, so it's also about having fun.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't have to feel like work all the time.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the loneliness.
Yes.
This episode's a little dark. The tissues. But it is true. I mean, you're a leader now at that point.
Yeah.
That's an interesting shift to make from writer, like with your colleagues on the same level, to now their boss.
Yes. On the same show.
On the same show.
That's
how did you
difficult.
How did you manage that?
It's just difficult. It's really difficult. And you just hope that your staff knows who you are. And that is reflecting, in the way that you're leading them, that you hear them. I think it's important that everyone still feels heard, and just let them know, like, that door is open. Come hang at any time. Come talk, come vent, come break story. Because we're all in the same boat. And I think that's where people get kind of jaded by the titles. We're all trying to deliver a script before the sun goes down. We're all trying to get home to our family. We all want the same thing.
Yeah.
And as long as we're rowing in the same direction, we'll get there.
And yet you found time to write a book.
That's right.
Yeah. Can you talk about Beyond the Paddock? What was the personal inspiration behind the book?
So my boys at the time were 12 and 10. No, sorry. They were 8 and 10 at the time of COVID. They were on ADHD medication. And so we had that time in between the shutdown to kind of take them off of their medication without the teachers complaining, and just kind of 100% support them. And during that time, we had gone to Goofy's Kitchen, which was at the Disneyland Hotel. And it's a crazy buffet. It's a crazy, crazy buffet. And they were so excited to go. And they took their medication before we left. But we hit traffic. And so by the time they got there to the buffet, they weren't hungry. We're like, guys, they're like, our mind's telling us we're hungry, but our bodies are saying no. We got the treadmill, we have the pool. We're just trying to burn off as much energy as possible. That's not enough. That's not enough. I hear them on each other's back, making so much noise. Okay, go get them on a horse. So my wife takes them on a horse. They go out on a horse, and it's about a month before I end up going out there to watch them. I'm like, what is this? $200 pants? Like, what is this? A shirt? What is happening? Because I'm in the middle of a writer's room, so she's kind of dealing with all of that. And lo and behold, they're doing English equestrian show jumping. So my life took a turn in 2020 for the horse world. They're out on these horses, and it is just magic.
Wow.
It is magic. They completely stop their medication, and it's just magic. And they're at the barn all day, and it just becomes their thing, their thing. And so now 5 years later, they are training 4 days a week here at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center. And that is the inspiration behind Beyond the Paddock, which is a fish out of water story about these 2 LA boys that go from LA to Kentucky and are thrown into the wonderful world of equestrian show jumping.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a throwback to the OC days, the Dawson's Creek coming of age stories, Smallville, where there's the characters are just so relatable. And whether or not you're into horses or not, you're going to fall in love with, you're going to see yourself in these characters. And it's a world we haven't seen, especially through the lens of two boys, which truly represent less than 1% in the equestrian world. It's a book of healing. It's a book of mystery. It's a book of just adrenaline. It's Friday Night Lights on horses. You know?
Oh, I love that description. I mean, it's very, it's YA.
Yeah.
But I mean, such a fun and easy read. And also, I would say kind of soapy in like a good way. And now that I know your soap opera roots, I'm like, I see
You're like, I get it.
And I love the OC and Dawson's Creek comparisons because it is coming of age. You made like the equestrian riding like scenes very vivid. Even though they were so technical, I'm still trying to figure out what some of these words mean. But like you wrote them in a very vivid way. As a writer, first of all, have you ridden on a horse yet?
I've sat on one.
Okay.
And I've been walked on one.
But you don't do what they do. So how did you, as the writer side of you, get into, like, how'd you compose those scenes? And how did you really, because they're very rich and read off the page really well.
Well, shout out to Cassidy. She really helped me with the techie stuff. She was one of the boys' assistant trainers. But the boys, they really helped me out with all the tech stuff. And I'm there with them. So I'm watching. So a lot of it, I'm able to be like, just observing. I looked at it no differently than how I would for like a Criminal Minds episode. You're reading a lot, but also just kind of asking a lot of questions. I am the main person that will sit there and just ask, hey, Cassidy, so is that what he did? Did he do that right? So she really helped me with a lot of the technical stuff, but also the boys and just having to kind of step up and just help mommy. So if this happened, how would you do this? What would the course look like? What would so they did a lot of that.
And what made you want to get into, literature, writing a book, coming from TV?
The lack of representation. My boys prior to writing, they ran track. They did basketball. They did soccer. And so they had someone else to look up to that looked like them, right? But they didn't have that in this sport. And so being able to pick up a book and see the cover be two Black boys on the cover with a horse in between and just know that they do exist in this equine world, tells its own kind of story.
That's cool. Is there a TV show adaptation in the works?
I'm trying, girl. I'm trying. I'm absolutely trying to, because I do feel like it definitely lends itself to that and through a lens that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and it opens it up for a sequel too. So do you have plans for the sequel already?
I do. I've already started. That's the breaking news. I've definitely started working on the sequel, and definitely there's a big career for these boys in this book.
So exciting. Prox Recs. So we like to end our show with what we call Prox Recs. So it's the recommendation for our audience. And it usually is just something helpful in what you do in your craft. What would be your Prox Rec?
Okay. So I would recommend a yellow notepad and a pen.
Okay.
Not just any pen. Get a cool pen. A cool pen. That if someone took it off your desk, you'd be like, where's my pen? And give yourself a year and keep that notepad and that pen with you for a year without ripping out any pages. And what a journey in a year you will have documented on that notepad. But it doesn't matter how banged up it gets, no matter how janky it gets, just keep it with you for a year and let that be your writing partner. Your writing partner, where you can write down all your frustrations, all your aspirations, your inspirations, a notepad, and a really nice looking pen.
I love that. Great advice. Great Prox Rec. Well, thank you, Kim, for sharing your journey and your tips and your notepad. Really great to be here.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
In Proximity is a production of Proximity Media. The show is hosted, directed, and produced by Paola Mardo. Executive producers are Ryan Kugler, Zinzi Kugler, and Sev Ohanian. Theme song and additional music by Ludwig Göransson. Patrick Apino is our co-director and director of photography. Ken Nana is our sound designer and mix engineer. The production team includes Brittany Brown, Isabella Miller, and Alexandria Santana. Follow us on social media at Proximity Media. For transcripts and more information, head to proximitymedia.com.